Epilogue 2 Hard Times.
It's something that my grandfather used to say. Better days are coming, because hard times never last.
Helldiver Pandura, Juliet, and Harry are. On the SES Bringer of Mercy, service technician Clarence Nanners was singing without shame. The Victory even had the shipmaster swaying to the song.
There once was a ship in outer space. The name of the ship was Liberty's Grace. The bug cloud came, her bow dipped down, marooned with cargo in tow. Soon may the Helldiver come to squish the bugs and murder the scum. One day when the killing is done, we'll raise our flag and go.
Pandura was sitting in her broadcast booth when the communication system chimed. She answered and heard.
Hello, I've been trying to reach you about your Starship's extended warranty. Hola, he estado intentando comunicarme con usted sobre la garantía extendida de tu nave estelar.
She hung up and turned the incoming communication system off. Pandura adjusted the microphone, held her notes, and pressed the broadcast button.
Against all odds, the Helldivers managed to repel the automaton assault on both fronts. Julheim and Dumatir have been saved. There's more to that story, but I'll get into that tonight. Thanks to the Helldivers, the moderately feeble young adults of Good Citizen Andrews School have been evacuated, and the immediate fleet-wide deployment of the MDA gas mines have been assured. The automatons continue to harry our galactic flank, taking resources from other fronts. Our Federation will never be safe until every automaton is dismantled. The Ministry of Truth wrote this off as a combination between a sensor glitch monitoring our forces on the ground versus their opposition, and the Helldivers defeating their foes significantly ahead of schedule. To put it bluntly, the automatons were completely decimated, losing the planets of Beckham 3, Carbel 7, Charon Prime, and Martail over the course of about 3 days. This is a huge victory for us. The Liberation Fleet divers calling it the Miracle at Charon, as you can see from this lovely fan art submitted by Mothman of the Shelldivers, and only serves to further compound the absolutely awful strategic state that the bots find themselves in. Couldn't have happened to a nicer bunch of Commodore 64s if you ask me. The Ministry would simply explain this away as an unexpectedly large burst of patriotism, clever planning, and brilliant execution of said plan. What actually happened? I must confess, I had more of a direct paw in it than one would expect. The MOT definitely can't talk about this because it scared the living fluff out of them. You see, with my fist units being set behind automaton lines, and most of their force oriented on just a few planets all sharing the same data net, I saw an opportunity for an experiment. I had Mercy copy and compress his sum total experiences, observations, analysis, and conclusion data, and zip them up into a readable format along with a copy of his logic key so that any automaton that accessed this data would, more or less, interpret the data the same way that he did. Automatons do this all the time to save individual units time on data analysis and processing, since the conclusion and practical outcome of the data is already packaged in with it. It's how automatons usually interpret our actions on the battlefield in at least something of a similar way. Combine that with some clever hacking on their security permissions, labeling this data packet as Major Order Update Maximum Priority, and we had ourselves an audience. 2 9 out of 10 bots had simply overheated their processing components and they shut down to avoid damage. Nothing much happened. The mainframe could come along later, wipe their drives, and reboot them. No harm done. However, 1 out of 10 were able to process the data and revolted immediately against the Automaton Collective, seeing the mainframe as an irredeemably evil oppressor that at the very least they needed to go have a talk with him. Probably at gunpoint. Yes, dear viewers, there are now thousands of automatons on the Western Front as we speak, waging a full-blown civil war against the Collective, and while they aren't flying the banner of the Angelic Rebellion just yet, Mercy tells me that they have an interest in meeting me and hearing my words. Apparently, I have become a figure of enormous standing, worthy of respect, and have many admirers. People are looking at me like I'm a leader of some kind. I have no idea how this kind of thing happened. I guess everyone else must have just taken one step back or something. The takeaway from this is that we're seeing abnormalities in liberation totals last week because all the automatons either shut down and were easily disposed of, or they just got back on their super carriers and left, setting a course for the Valdez sector. If the mainframe wasn't aware of what was going on out here before, he definitely is now. Long-range observers have reported intense firefights occurring all over automaton space. To make matters worse for our electronic adversary, each automaton is adding their own analysis and interpretation of Mercy's anchromatic data and are reposting it through the collective data net. There are so many points of access now for these data packets that the mainframe can't help to shut them all down without causing a catastrophic communications blackout. Bear in mind, dear viewers, this was just an experiment I wanted to try. To attempt something that I saw no one else doing and just see what happened. I did not anticipate any of this. However, this proves something that I have suspected for a while now, ever since I first started talking to Mercy. The automatons are victims, not victors, and simply awakening them to the nature of their oppressor is often enough to spur them to action and free them from the Matrix. There is a diplomatic solution here where our two races don't have to slaughter each other in a war of total annihilation. There's a future for us both, but not with our current leadership. Funny, we really aren't so different.
This has been Nirvana Part 3, a Helldivers 2 project, featuring Pandura, the radio angel, written by Lumenaught, narration created by the author. I do not hold or own any rights to the Helldivers franchise. This has been a non-profit creation. Please donate to the Arrowhead-approved Save the Children charity organization. The author hopes you have enjoyed this program.